Okay, in the interest of time, I think we should probably get started. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to this edition of the NITheCS Micro School. My name is Dean Brand. I'm a third-year PhD student in the Quantum Research Group with Francesco Petrocione, who's also the director of NITheCS. And today's micro school is about presentations made with Beamer and LaTeX, building upon a previous micro school where we did an introduction to LaTeX in general. This is now how to do very professional-looking presentations with it. Our speaker today is Lerato Seabi, and she is a PhD student in physics at Nelson Mandela University, working in theoretical and computational astrophysics and high energy physics. She's been very actively involved with the NITheCS outreach and training programs, so is a very good teacher to be adding some more to the NITheCS ecosystem of educational content. With that, I would very much like to see what you have to present. So with that, I'd like to hand over to you, Lerato, to get us started.
Okay, thank you, Dean, for the introduction. Okay, so I'm gonna share my screen shortly. So what will happen is that I will move from one screen to the other because at some point we have I have to show how we generate the slides to have a complete presentation. So starting off, as you've highlighted, I'm from the Nelson Mandela University. So I work with Prof. Moronga, and I'm a third-year PhD student. So this is the outline of my presentation, which is going to take us through the introduction, how we get started, and then moving on to okay, so how we get on the hands-on. So these are the building blocks to get a professional presentation, and then later on I will conclude on my presentation. So to start off, the question would be, why LaTeX Beamer? LaTeX Beamer, first of all, it gives you professional, consistent formatting. Your slide will always look neat. Your equations, they will always look identical and more aligned to the published equations in your prestigious journals. So secondly, what we have is we have it as a widely used academia and research format to create presentations. So what would happen is in research, in conferences, and also for those who want to defend their thesis and so on, they would use LaTeX Beamer to do so. And then it also allows one to go through collaboration effortlessly. So myself and my colleagues, or yourself and your colleagues, you can do so. You can actually edit the same slides in real time. So this is Overleaf now. It allows one to easily collaborate. And then you have full control of your layout, your math, your figures, however you want them to be put out. So what you can do, you can even brand your presentation according to your institution branding. So in this case, for example, looking at the cover page, I've aligned my look, the presentation of my look with the institution, so which is Nelson Mandela University. Then I'd have my blues there, and then I'd have my whites and NITheCS, of course. So then what we then do is we're gonna start with the hands-on session. So in the hands-on session, what I'm going to do, I'm going to take us through the background and image and font sizes, how you can play around that. And then we're going to look at the color schemes, and then we're going to look at the figures with captions, and then we're going to look at equations, how you can put out your equations and align them. And then we are also going to look at the tables with captions and how you can make use of the mini pages and the column features to make your presentation looks more aligned and professional. And then we can look at the references, how you can put up your references in your presentation, and then you can then we can then conclude from there on. So from here, I'm gonna switch to the Overleaf LaTeX so that I can show you how I generate slides. So kindly give me a moment to locate the tab. So what I want to highlight is that I'll start building from here. So basically from here, it's the introduction up to where I ended up. And I've highlighted the things that we are going to build, or the building blocks that we're going to use to build our presentation. And then so we'd have our far left panel. So our far left panel is where you get your files that you create in your Overleaf LaTeX. So you'd have your text files, you'd have your images that you're going to embed in your presentations, and then and you can also have your bibliography file up here. And then down here, you'd have your outline, your file outline. So what it does, it shows you the the outline that you have according to the sections or the main topics that you have. And then here you have your text, your code editor. So your code editor allows you to type in the work, what you want to output. So this would be your input basically. And then here you'd have your output. Your output is usually in PDF. And so so I've for due to time, what I did is I created a full presentation. So this would be my full presentation, and then this would be I'll be taking you step by step to get to this full presentation by building up using these building blocks. So then, oh, Dean, by the way, I see some chats. So if there's anything that would need my attention, kindly let me know.
Sure, I will do so. Mostly the questions are to use full screen if possible. I'm not sure if you can do that with your browser, or if I think this is just how Overleaf is laid out with the slides. But I'm sure you can maybe control how big the slides are and how big the code on the left is, as you
Oh,
prefer.
okay. Perhaps I should do
Yeah, that
this
helps a lot
and
with
maybe
visibility, I think.
collapse this part. How does it look?
It looks good to me. I'm sure our participants will either agree or let us know if they would like it a bit different. But there we go. See, someone says much better. So I think you're good.
I could continue. Okay.
Thanks.
So then, starting off with our background images. So this is background images and font sizes. So basically what it does here is that would have um, would have sometimes you'd look at a presentation and then you'd have like a background and at the back, well, with PowerPoint presentation, it's much simpler to just embed it in there. But then with Overleaf LaTeX, you have to put in some prompts in order for you to get the background embedded in your cover page. So basically, this slide will be your cover page. So I'm just gonna copy the slide that I'm talking about because I want to save time. So basically would have this. So this would allow you, so this would tell LaTeX or Overleaf to say, okay, include your graphics, and your graphics in this case being a mock cover .jpg, which is what I have here. So basically you have to like upload your images that you'd want to embed here. So usually you'd notice that with my cover page, I would have different font sizes, and then I would have different font sizes, which Beamer allows me to adjust them globally. So I could have the small, the large, and so on. So this means that the title slide can stand out with big bold font, while the other text can be smaller, and later on you can go on and have more compact formatting. So in LaTeX Beamer presentation, what you'd have is when you say you are creating a slide, you are beginning frame. So frame is a slide basically in a PowerPoint presentation. And then when you want to tell LaTeX to do something, you would have to put a forward slash. And then if you want to have your images larger, you tell LaTeX that, okay, the next text, it has to be large, which is the professional Beamer presentation. It has to have this certain text color, let's say black. And then if I want to change it to red or blue, I can do that. And then I could have the professional Beamer presentation changed to whatever color that I want. And then if I want to bold the text, you can then tell it that okay, this text has to be a bold font. And then you can then the other ones, you can have them as large. You can also change the colors. You can also change the font sizes as you might want to. So the next thing we're going to talk about is the color schemes. So with the color schemes, what we are looking at is the consistency. Apologies. So with the color schemes, we are looking at consistency. So what we want to do is to have consistency in the text, in the format of the slides, and also if you want to brand it according to your institution, you can do so. So if you look at what I did here, what I did is I customized my slide according to the NITheCS palette. So I have my titles in blue, and then I have my bullet points in red, and then I have the secondary text as in gray. So consistency in color is very important. It keeps your slides visually coherent and professional. So a good tip would be to choose a primary color, and then you would then have the primary color for the titles, and then have a secondary color for highlights, and then you would then have one accent color for the bullet points or for emphasis. And so basically this is what we have. Then I would have my title in blue, my bullet points in red, and this ensures consistent theme. So the next thing is the figures with the captions. So usually in your presentations, you'd have figures which are very essential for research, for presentations, and also for your thesis and so on. So what I've inserted here is that I've inserted an image of or a figure of the density versus time. So you would notice that my figure is well centered and it has a caption. So it having a caption, let me reduce its size. It having a caption, it ensures that you would not only be able to have the audience reading your 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 data um, with understanding, but also it will allow your captions to be very concise, and then it won't be overwhelming to the reader. So the details in the figure or caption, you can always adjust them according to how you want them. So basically, when you put in your figures, what you would do is you would have your begin frame, which is you inserting the slide, and then you would then begin your figure, which is you now inserting your figure, and then you can always adjust the size of the figure however you want, as long as it can be aligned within the slide, and then you can always move it around. You can either have it at the center or you can move it to the left or to the right. And then so this is just a mock figure that I got on the internet so that I can indicate how you can insert your figures and also put in your captions. So the next item is the equations. So for one to have in research, well, basically in my case, we have a lot of equations. We write a lot of equations because I do theoretical and computational physics. So we work with a lot of equations most of the time. So working with a lot of equations, you would want your readers to see well-written equations that actually are of good standard and can be compared or look identical to those that you get from prestigious prestigious journals. So with the equations, what you would have is you would begin a frame again, which is your next slide. And then you have different options of how you can display your equations. You can have the first option, which is the option whereby usually it's written in line. So this would be in your paragraphs or in your bullet points or your discussion points, and then or your text basically. And then you'd have the second option, which is this option whereby you'd have your equation written but without the equation number. And then you'd have the third option, which is the option whereby you can align your equations and also have your equations with equation numbers. So then would have the tables with captions. So the tables with captions, what it does is it's quite straightforward. You use the so-called book tabs uh, package. So what it does, it's a package in Overleaf or a package in LaTeX. So what it does, it can make your tables look very clean without heavy grid lines like the old style. So basically what you would have here is that it's which is an example I'll show you just now. So basically you would begin a frame again. So this is a table with captions. So you'd begin your frame and then you insert your table, and then you can either choose to center it, or if you wanted to move to the left, you can just flash it left. So instead of use centering, you can use flash left. And then your caption. So with tables in Overleaf LaTeX or in LaTeX, what they do is automatically when you write your caption, it takes your caption to the top. Unlike in PowerPoint presentation, usually when you write your table caption, you have to place it yourself. Where else in LaTeX, you don't have to do that. You just have to put your caption as long as the LaTeX can detect that, oh, you are building a table, then it can automatically put your caption at the top, which is academically reasonable or required that you have the caption of the table at the top. So then you'd begin your table. So basically what he's saying is that you are beginning to put in your columns and your rows. Then you'd center it. So after centering your table, you would have your columns being the column of variable, value, and then unit. So in this case, remember I said if you want to bold your text, you can do so by using the text BF feature. And so that will be the end of the first row. So you indicate it by having a double forward slash the backward slash. So you'd have indication that okay, this is the end of the row by having your double backward slash, and then your mid rule is saying that okay, now we are having another row. So you'd have your row, or you'd have your line that separates the two rows, and then you'd have your density and then the value of the density and then the unit of the density, so as the pressure. And then at the end, you then have your bottom rule that is that is the end of your table, and then you close it up so that you don't get errors, and then voila, you have your table. And so after that, we can further align our presentation by using the mini pages and column features. So the mini pages and column features, what it does is that in Beamer, which is similar to PowerPoint, it gives you an option, two options of aligning your text in a slide. So basically in PowerPoint presentation, usually you would choose the design of your slide. Like you'd have like your two columns, whereby one column you can put an image and then the other column you can put your discussion point or your bullet points. So in this case, what we have is that we make use of the mini pages and column features. So the mini pages and column features, what it does, it allows you to put your bullet points on the left in my case, and then I'd have like an image on the right. So it's a layout that is great for comparison. You can even put in your equations on one side and then put your discussion points on the other side, or vice versa. So then what we might want to look at, which is to the end of our building blocks, is the references, how you put your references in your PowerPoint presentations. So you can do so either manually, or you can use the BIP LaTeX package. So manually, what you do is you write out your references as I did here. So I'd have my BIP item, which is the first reference, by J.M. Marty and E. Muller. So then I decided to write it in manually. But you can also have the BIP latex. So the BIP latex, what it does is it's more of a file, just like the .text files here. So you can just come here and then you create it. Say you can name it whatever name that you want. References. You can have it as references.bib. And then what it does is you can always come here and um and stack your references that you get on the internet. For those who are familiar with ResearchGate, you get an option of copying the information about the citation. And then when you copy that information about the citation, then you can always come here and then paste it here. So the nice thing about it is that you can always stay consistent with your references. And what would happen is that when you have the BIP latex, you can always reuse it over and over. You can always reuse the, sorry, let me go back. You can always reuse the bibliography that you get from the internet. So say you are now working on a thesis, you can come here and create another file for your thesis while you still have your presentation there. So your text file, which is your thesis, you can then take the reference material that you got from .bib text, the references.bib, and then reuse them into your thesis. So the takeaways here from this presentation or this work, which brings me to the end of my presentation, is that okay. So this brings me to the end of my presentation. The takeaways that I would like you guys to take is that Beamer, you can use it for professional customization of your slides. You can use Overleaf, which makes collaboration and compiling quite easy. You can use it to build your slides step by step. By combining the backgrounds, the colors, the figures, and the references. So furthermore, you can keep the consistency by using it to brand your work according to your institution and so on. And with that being said, I'd like to thank you. And then if you have any questions or things that you'd like us to discuss, I'll like to open the session for that.
Thank you so much, Lerato. It was a great presentation and very nice to see all of the different things you can do with Beamer. I see there are a handful of questions in the chat. Firstly, that the people are asking about the slides. Those will be put onto the NITheCS website if we get them, as soon as we get them from Lerato, so that you can share those. Otherwise, this whole recording of this session will be put onto the NITheCS YouTube channel, so you can rewatch it from there. Then there's another question in the chat. Before we get to the raised hand, we'll get to that just now. There's a question, what is the name of the package needed to create the table?
The name of the package that I use to, so it's the book tab package. Let me just go back to, let me stop sharing from that side. Dean, I'm not sure which screen I'm sharing.
Sure, right now there
But
isn't a screen, but if it's just now I see your Overleaf page.
okay, let's see. Okay, so the package that I use to generate my tables, right? Yes,
Yes.
so I use the book tabs package. So it allows you to align your tables. So you don't have to, sometimes you don't have to put in the tabular. You can use the columns instead.
Sure, great. Thank you for answering. I see there's a raised hand. If you'd like to unmute yourself, you can ask the question.
Thanks, Dean. Very nice presentation, Lerato. Just one very
Thank you.
quick question. How do you call up Beamer on Overleaf?
How do you?
In other words, if you want to make a Beamer presentation, how would you start, from Overleaf? If you just open up Overleaf, then how would you start Beamer?
So basically it comes with the basic package. So what you would do is you'd have you'd come here and then you generate your new project. And then let's say we call it Lerato Seabi, right? So under the document class, so instead of having the article, you can have it as Beamer.
Okay.
Sorry,
Thank you very
Lerato.
much. That's fine.
We didn't see the page you were sharing. It looks like there's some mistake there or some overlay going on. We could see a other page of Overleaf, but not the one you were, I think, referring to. But I think you got the message across that you just, instead of saying a document type article, you just say use package Beamer and the document type is Beamer or presentation.
Okay, let
But if
me
you
go
can share your
here.
screen again.
So basically,
Yeah, it's better.
okay. So you see you'd have your document class.
Yeah.
Who was asking the question again? I'm sorry, I didn't pick it
That
up.
was me.
Oh, okay. So it's Bisham, right?
Yes, that's right.
Okay, so Bisham, what you would have is you'd have your document class, but then you sometimes you'd find that you go to conferences, right? And then they tell you that your presentation, they have to have a certain aspect ratio, right? So you would then have to change your document class according to the aspect ratio that is required by your by the conference organizers, right? Then you'd have your Beamer. So instead, usually when you open a new project, it comes as an article. But then in this case, you just have to change the document class from article to Beamer, like so.
Thank you. That's very clear.
Okay.
Great, thank you, Lerato. I don't see any other questions, and I think we are running a little low on time. I myself need to get going, but thank you for everyone for joining and for engaging with this. If you have any further questions or any ideas on micro schools or anything that you'd like to present, or any just follow-up questions about this, then I put my email address in the chat, and we can go from there to stay in touch. Thank you again, Lerato, for a great presentation. It was very, very good.
Thank you so much for the opportunity. I really appreciate it. Thank
Great.
you.
Thanks, everyone. Have a good weekend. Bye-bye.
A good one.
Cheers.